Good day, everyone. I am Czarina Rosete, one of the guidance counselors of QSU. Welcome to our second series of Thursday Teachers Training or Artist Project. With this, I would like to thank the coordinators, Dr. Rosalyn L. Deliso and Ma'am Ana Marie Ventura, for inviting me to be one of the speakers for this project. I would like also to thank the SDO Quirino and of course to the defunct two teachers who are with us today. Since my topic is all about health and wellness, I came up with these objectives. Number one objective of this webinar is to promote help-seeking behaviors and emotional well-being practices. And another is to develop strategies for helping yourselves or others who are suffering from mental disorder. You know, sometimes life can be like a movie. Not in the sense that a cameraman is constantly filming us, a stylist making sure we're always dressed up, or the authors and directors are ordering us on what to do next. Whereas, kung ganun sana ang life, di ba ang ganda? But just like in movies with conflicts and climactic moments, life also hands us our fair share of highs and lows. Well, healthy coping is all about learning how to effectively handle difficult situations in our lives. While we are all familiar with the concept of coping, it might be useful to discuss the psychological definition of coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms are cognitive and behavioral approaches that we use to manage internal and external stressors. Let's talk about this more in a bit to better understand the various coping techniques and stress. Hindi po lahat ng stress ay nagawa na magkakapareho. It's true that our bodily and emotional responses to a challenge or stressors often fall under the category of stress. Pero kung saan nagmumula ang stressor, doon po nagkakaroon ng pagkakaiba. The two of the primary types of stressors are internal and external. Internal stressors are thoughts and emotions that come from within us that can induce stress response. Here are some examples of internal stressors. Fears such as failure or rejection, insecurities, negative self-talk like I am not good enough, creating unrealistic expectations that maybe sometimes nakakapagbigay ng stress sa atin dahil nag-strive tayo for perfection. While external stressors, on the other hand, provoke a stress response from outside factors and can sometimes include situations we have no control over. And some of the examples are losing a loved one, which can happen to anyone, as a parent, being laid off from a job, for student teachers, upcoming school exams and presentations, lalo na sa graduate school, di ba po? Learning that you have illness, or even an accident. Those are examples of external stressors. We move on now to the coping approaches. Approaches or techniques of how we implement our coping skills that may be used to describe the mechanisms we use to cope. Typically, we use cognitive and behavioral approaches to cope. Let me give you example to exemplify these approaches. Let's say you're a working mom or dad. Dahil sa sobrang busy natin sa work, nakalimutan natin na may activity pala yung anak natin sa school. Let's say, first ever dance presentation niya ito. Yung tipong nagplaplano na tayo ahead of time, nag-save na tayo ng notes sa ating mga cellphone, Pero dahil may urgent report, kailangan munang magstay para tapusin ito. And then when you beat the deadline, nagmamadali ka na pumunta sa school ng baby mo. Tapos sa gate, wala palang tricycle. So in short, malabong makaabot ka na sa oras ng presentation ng baby mo. Your child is visibly upset at you after the presentation, and you will feel disappointed in yourself for making him or her feel sad. Unfortunately, you cannot go back in time and make it to the presentation. Ano kaya ang gagawin mo para makope ang stressful event na ito? Dito, may pumapasok na si cognitive approaches. A coping that relates to our thinking. Madali lang para sa atin ang mag-negative self-talk, lalo na sa mga ganitong sitwasyon. Minsan, nasasabi na lang natin sa sarili natin, ang sama ko namang magulang. Ang mga ganitong pananaw ay nag-worse lamang ng kung anong bigat ng nararamdaman natin. But instead, why not try the positive self-talk? Kagaya ng, hindi na ito mauulit at sisiguraduhin kong may oras na ako for my kids. Forgiving yourself lets you shift the focus to your actions instead of ruminating on what happened. Next is behavioral approaches, a coping that relates to your action. Siguro iniisip na po ninyo, okay na-forgive ko na ang sarili ko, pero galit pa rin sa akin ang anak ko. Ano na kaya ang gagawin ko? Think about what can you do to make the situation better for you and your child right now. So in short po, Operation Tanggal Tampo tayo. First thing to do, we should apologize to them for missing the presentation. Asking them what you can do that make that might make them feel better at the moment. Then syempre, we carry out kung ano man po ang sinabi nila. I believe naman po na sa mga ganitong pagkakataon, ang tanging hinihiling lang ng mga bata ay magkaroon ng um, time from their parents. Like ice cream time, popcorn time together, mga ganyang bagay. And part of behavior approach is to seek out sa ating mga boss in advance. Mag-file na po kaagad tayo ng leave para hindi na maulit ang mga ganitong stressful events sa atin. And that how behavioral approaches works. Next is mechanism techniques. We may never be able to completely remove stressors from our lives, no matter how resilient we are. But we do have the ability to manage stress in healthy ways. Let's take a look at some of the primary types of coping mechanisms that may be helpful to incorporate into your own coping toolkit. First is the problem-focused coping. It refers to an actionable way to handle a stressful situation, much like the behavioral approach to coping we just talked about. This technique allows us to focus on tackling the problem itself. Typically, this coping technique is employed when we have control over a situation. Example of this coping are feeling overwhelmed with responsibilities. Yan. For the teachers, ramdam nyo na ba? The problem here is the time management. Why not try creating a schedule or to-do list? Diba po? Another is dealing with loneliness after a separation. Yan, sa mga estudyante nating nag-graduate na or sa mga personal lives po natin. Why not try reaching out to some close friends or family members or even dun sa mga estudyante nating graduate for social support. And another is struggling with work-life balance. Why not give chance to setting up a healthier boundary? Those are examples of problem-focused coping. Now, the second is the emotion-focused coping. It is managing your internal feelings about a stressful situation, similar to the cognitive approach I mentioned earlier. This technique allows us to focus on ourselves and our emotions about the situation. While we can use emotion-focused coping techniques for all types of stressors, this technique may become particularly helpful when we do not have control over a situation. And here are some examples of it. First, got into small argument with friend. Pag meron kayong diskurso, why not try to journaling it? Journaling your feelings regarding the incident. Another is, you didn't get the promotion? Try to practice reframing the situation from a negative one to positive. For example, if you were not promoted to the one you had set your eyes set, or to the one you had your eyes set on, could there be a possibility that you end up getting into a different, better position? This is not always easy, but trying to look at a situation from an alternative perspective may be worthwhile. Another is suffering from a loss of a loved one. Grief looks different and takes various amounts of time for all of us. Take all the time you needed to feel all the emotions that come up for you, or talk about these emotions with a mental health practitioners, a psychologist, or a counselors, for example. And that's the types of coping. Now, let's take a look at two primary styles of coping. When, when faced with a stressful situation, some of us may feel compelled to address the issue right away, while others may wish to avoid the situation entirely. There is no one correct way to deal with life's stresses, but it is important to recognize different coping styles. We have here active coping, a coping with the stressor head on. Whether you decide to focus on the problem or how you feel about the situation, an active coping style is an attempt to cope with the stressor and try to reduce the effect it has on you. While the other one is avoidant coping. It is exactly what it sounds like and involves us avoiding the situation that is eliciting a stress response or ignoring our feelings about the stressors altogether. Gusto kong isipin na ang avoidant coping style ay kagaya ng all-purpose couch namin sa bahay. Siguro lahat tayo ay merong tinatawag na all-purpose couch, chair, table, or even cabinet sa ating mga tahanan. Tinawag kong itong all-purpose kasi dito ko nilalapag at iniiwan ang ibang mga gamit dun sa gamit ko sa bahay. Dito ko nilalagay yung mga mystery shop ko mula sa Shopee, kahit hindi pa nabubuksan, nabuksan na ilang linggo na, nandun pa rin. Mga damit na kailangang tupiin, mga damit na bigla kong nilabas sa aming cabinet pero hindi ko pala gagamitin, instead na ibalik, iiwan ko muna doon sa all-purpose couch ko. Minsan, ang all-purpose couch ko ay sobrang linis. Na-imagine nyo na bang all-purpose couch? Yung saan nilalagay na lang po natin yung mga gamit natin. Alam ko may isang part ng bahay nyo na may ganito. Hindi man siya couch, table, basta may space sa bahay nyo na ganito. Pero minsan, alam kong sobrang linis din ng mga space nito. Pero, kapag naglagay na tayo pa isa-isa, siguro ngayon maglalagay ako, nilinis ko yung all-purpose couch ko kahapon. And then may nakita akong gamit sa labas, ipinasok ko, nilapag ko doon, isa. And then mamaya madadagdagan naman, isa na naman. Hanggang sa mapuno na yung all-purpose couch na yon, yung couch na yon, kaya tinawag kong all-purpose couch. Alam ko ganun din tayo. It becomes an overwhelming mountain of iba't ibang gamit na minsan sa sobrang dami, hindi na natin alam kung paano aayusin, kung paano sisimulan, kung paano sisimulang linisan. Minsan nakakaiyak pa, 'di ba? This is similar to dealing with stressors. An avoidant coping style may start as harmless until the stressful situations keep adding on. And this leads to a backlog of emotion that still need to be dealt with. Gets niyo po ba yun na yung all-purpose couch ay parang kagaya ng stress. Habang naiipon, mas lalong bumibigat. Mas nadadagdagan lang. Hindi natin naaayos yung problem na yon, kundi mas nadadagdagan. And that is avoidant coping. Some examples of avoidant coping may include not talking about the stressful situation. Mas pinipili nating wag ng pag-usapan. Distracting yourself from the stressor, or such as wantusawang panonood ng TV ng K-drama, mga ganyang bagay. Or minsan, nag-escape tayo by resorting to vices. Yan, di ba? Mahilig tayong uminom. Minsan. Doon natin ina-avoid natin yung stress natin through those actions. So that is avoidant coping style. Before we get to specific coping mechanisms for various types of stress or mental health conditions, let's elaborate a bit more on the types of coping mechanisms. So far, we have learned about various coping approaches, techniques, and styles. Here is a rundown of two dominant coping mechanism types, the healthy and unhealthy. Healthy coping is utilizing a coping strategy that allows us to respond to a stressful situation in a healthy capacity. When struggling with a stressor or challenge, healthy coping mechanisms may not be instantly feel gratifying, but they can promote positive long-term change. Some healthy coping examples includes talking about your problems with loved ones, eating well and exercising regularly, reaching out to a mental health professionals for extra support, self-soothing techniques such as a meditation or journaling. You are using problem-solving skills to address the situation. That is healthy coping. Unhealthy coping, on the other hand, is employing strategies that respond to stressors in an unhealthy or harmful way. While unhealthy coping mechanisms might offer comfort instantly, they tend to lead to negative consequences down the road. Some unhealthy coping examples include procrastinating on the problem or avoiding it altogether, because if you do, it may lead to pile of problems and it may cause you some mental health conditions. Next is overeating or undereating, oversleeping or undersleeping. This is also unhealthy because your physical health is at risk. Partaking in excessive alcohol or other substances, here, your both physical and mental health is at stake. Another is withdrawing from social situations. And last is self-harming. Those are unhealthy coping. Now, let me share to you a short video from Psych2Go to give you more details about unhealthy coping.
We all have different ways of dealing with stressful circumstances. Maybe you like to go to the gym and work out, or maybe you like to turn the music up in your car and sing along to the radio when you're stressed out. Either way, these two types of coping mechanisms are good and healthy since they aren't harmful to you or others. But there are some unhealthy coping mechanisms that you might have due to stress that can be harmful to you and or other people. With that said, here are 5 common unhealthy coping mechanisms that you shouldn't ignore. Number 1, forced positivity. I'm sure you've heard the term good vibes only. This statement and its accompanying sentiments have become part of our societal culture. Of course, there is nothing wrong with having a positive mindset. Positivity can be a pretty powerful tool when you wanna manifest that in your life. However, the notion of only positive vibes have been taken to the extreme. Toxic positivity. Toxic positivity does not come from a place of genuine happiness. It comes from a place of denial, invalidation, or minimization. It's an attempt to display a positive disposition at all times, even when you're not in the best of moods. It's usually so excessive that the toxic positivity phrases are obvious. Some examples of toxic positivity are, don't think about it, be positive. Everything will work out in the end. If I can do it, so can you. Or it could be worse. When you force yourself to be positive at all times, you're barring and repressing your emotions, which can lead to doubt, shame, and relational problems with others. Sometimes life just sucks, and no amount of positivity can fix it. It's all right to be angry, jealous, annoyed, or deeply upset about things. The good and the bad emotions are all part of being human. Number 2, isolating yourself. For now, being socially distant is our safest option, but there are other ways you might be isolating yourself without realizing it. Socially isolating yourself simply because you don't like the people who are around you is not a healthy habit. This can make it harder for you to relate to others overall when you do something like this. As a species, we are social creatures, and we crave and need proper connection with other people. You can learn a lot from the people around you. When you connect with others in a healthy manner through supportive conversations and good, healthy talks, you're allowing yourself to grow emotionally and mentally. Fostering your mental resilience can be helpful when times of stress do arise. If you feel anxious in social situations, try going to an event with someone you know, or reach out to a professional therapist who can teach you techniques to reduce the stress you feel caused by social situations. Number 3, fatalism. When something bad happens, our brains immediately embellish the event. That makes it seem like it's the worst possible thing to have ever happened to you. It's a mental trait that has kept humans alive for millions of years, so the same mistakes won't be repeated in need of survival. However, in our modern day society, it functions as a self-defense mechanism. You prepare for the worst, just in case, but this behavior might be causing you more stress than necessary. High levels of stress can lead to severe mental and physical health problems like depression and even heart disease. A tool to help overcome this need to catastrophize would be to allow yourself to think of the 5 top worst outcomes, and then ask yourself how likely they are to actually happen. If you feel like a bad outcome is truly likely, then plan for that one outcome. Create a plan that is flexible and doable in case it needs to change. This will give you a better sense of security going forward and create less stress in your life. Number 4, repressing your feelings. Are you repressing your feelings because you think that no one cares or that it's a waste of time? Often, this behavior is a type of self-defense mechanism that activates when you believe that you no longer have control over a certain situation. Whether you choose to overreact or underreact, you are not giving your emotions a chance to be aired out. While there should be a degree of emotional self-control in place, we should remember to be genuine with how we're feeling and express it calmly and reasonably in a way that does not harm others. If you are more likely to overreact when something goes wrong, notice any physiological changes. Usually, your body is a good indicator of how you're actually feeling. Taking a moment to meditate and ground yourself in your body can help you minimize stress and reduce emotional outbursts. There are other ways to shake out repressed emotions, such as yelling into a pillow, dancing, or working out. Number 5, romanticizing the past. The past can hold a certain appeal when we put our nostalgia goggles on, especially when the present looks dim and not as promising. Unfortunately, we can't resurrect the past. Things happened, and chances are they did not happen exactly as you imagined they would. Living in a nostalgic daydream of what could have been can rob you of opportunities that you need to be taking advantage of in your current present. If you find yourself taking frequent trips down memory lane, figure out what specifically appeals to you about those memories and try to recreate them in the present. The present can sometimes be dim and gray, but your perspective depends on how you choose to handle it. So, which of these coping mechanisms did you relate to most? How do you healthily or unhealthily cope with stressful circumstances? Share your experiences with us in the comments below. Please like and share this video if it helped you and you think it could help someone else too. The studies and references used are listed in the description below. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more Psych2Go videos, and thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Now that we've established the framework for various types of coping strategies and methods, let's talk about a specific coping mechanism for specific situations. The following slides will provide us various types of coping mechanisms, including problem-focused and emotion-focused coping strategies. The primary goal of coping with distress is finding healthy ways to distress. You might want to try the following examples if you are overwhelmed or stressed out. First is laugh it out or laugh it out loud. Sabi nga nila, laughter is the best medicine. Humor is an excellent way to process stress. While dealing with stress can be challenging at times, finding time to laugh with loved ones, watch something funny, or make jokes can help us cultivate a lighter mood. This alteration in mood may help us look at our stressors from a more positive perspective. Another is make a schedule. Feeling overwhelmed with all your responsibilities? You're far from being alone. Whether you are trying to balance parenthood, work, social life, or even something exciting such as wedding or vacation, making a schedule to keep track of all you must get done can be a wonderful way to relieve stress. Another is practice self-care. Taking care of ourselves looks different for all of us. Some of us might think na ang self-care ay kaartehan lamang sa katawan. Sayang lang ang oras, mga ganyang bagay. Although our lives may seldom allow time for us to practice self-care, it is still beneficial for us to make time to do so, even just for a few minutes every day. Example po nito or example ng self-care ay ang pagme-meditate, magbabasa, or panonood ng mga TV shows, or taking care of our bodies once in a while, magpa-massage po muna tayo, but every day, pwede tayong mag-handle or makagawa ng relaxing bath man lang or nightly skincare routine. Ayan. Those are examples of self-caring. Another is aromatherapy. Sorry. Did you know that being in touch with our core five senses is another technique that can support coping with anxiety? Aromatherapy in particular appeals to our sense of smell. Researchers has shown that the same system that help us regulate smell can also play a role in regulating emotions. One way to practice aromatherapy is to smell essential oils. For anxiety, specifically lavender oil is a popular scent for relieving anxious thoughts and reducing overall stress. So, yung mga BFF po ni White Flower, Katingko, Vicks, good job po tayo dyan. And sa mga hindi pa po BFF ng mga ito, I suggest next time po na magawi tayo ng Robinson, dumaan po tayo ng Watsons and maghanap po tayo ng mga essential oils ng mga ito, or di kaya sa mga pharmacy po natin, or magtingin tayo ng mga pahid-pahid na sa palagay natin ay makakapagpakalma po sa atin. That is another way of mechanism, aromatherapy. Another is keep a routine. Ever felt like laying in bed all day to deal with sadness you're experiencing? I've been there too. Although sleeping under a warm blanket with loads of junk food and a fully loaded Netflix queue next to me was my go-to depression coping strategy. I quickly felt even more miserable. While indulging in junk food and binge watching is a fun activity from time to time, too much of it can point to an unhealthy and avoidant coping style. Instead, you may find it helpful for you in the long run to stick a daily routine, whether it includes a weekly cleaning schedule, a daily self-care routine, or even just meal prepping your food. Having a regular routine can help balance your moods. Another is stay physically active. Research shows that moving our bodies for even as low as 15 minutes a day can support our mental well-being. Try doing some light exercises, whether it be at the gym or a walk outside in the fresh air. Exercise helps release endorphins, which are happiness hormones that help with lifting moods. Another is organizer environment. Remember the all-purpose couch kanina? Turns out that clutter tends to grow when we are feeling overwhelmed with stress, anxiety, or depression. When struggling with this, we need to have a place of refuge and solace in our homes. If our homes feel disorganized or overly messy, it may increase feelings of depression, lack of focus, and fatigue. If you start notice that your all-purpose couch or any space in your home increase in clutter, try finding time to organize your space. Such a practice may allow you to feel more in control of your space and provide a sense of accomplishment, which could help with coping with mental health conditions. And ever experience your heart racing too fast, your palms starting to sweat, and your mind feeling overwhelmed with worry? This tense combination of a symptom can be a result of feeling anxious. Regardless of whether you're experiencing fear or worrying about an upcoming event, you can try out these tips that may help you cope with anxious thoughts. First is meditation or breathing exercise. When I experience anxiety, my thoughts and my heart are in race, competing to see which of the two can go faster. Research suggests that one way to help ground yourself when feeling anxious is to center your focus on your breathing or try meditation practice rather than ruminating or cycling through the thoughts that are currently in your head. There are several breathing techniques that you can utilize at isa sa mga ito ay ang tinatawag na box breathing. Interested in this? Here's a video that demonstrates box breathing.
There are times when we all experience feelings of stress or anxiety. In these moments, you can use your breath to help calm those feelings. Box breathing is a simple relaxation technique that can help you reset your breath and return to its normal rhythm. You can do it anywhere, anytime. Box breathing can help reduce stress and improve mood. It can also help with controlling and managing emotions. It's very easy to learn. Imagine breathing around a box. Inhale as you visualize going up one side of the box, gradually filling your lungs with air. When you reach the top, hold your breath for 1 to 5 seconds as you picture going across the top of the box. Exhale gradually as you imagine traveling down the other side of the box. Pause again for 1 to 5 seconds as you go along the bottom of the box. Then repeat. This can be done 7 to 10 times in a row, focusing on the breath. If you can do it sitting down with your feet grounded, that will help too. But really, it can be done anywhere. Box breathing has physiological and psychological benefits. Physiologically, it regulates breath, increases oxygen to the lungs, and can help reduce blood pressure and lower heart rate. Box breathing can help psychologically by providing focus to your breath and removing attention from the things that are causing feelings of stress and anxiety. The repetition of box breathing can also help reduce stress. So, in moments when feelings of stress and anxiety are overwhelming, remember box breathing and the power of your breath as a simple way to relax and breathe a bit easier.
Let's move on to a deeper healthy coping mechanisms. We have here radical acceptance. According to Marsha and Linehan, creator of dialectic behavior therapy, it is completely and totally accepting from the depths of your soul with your heart and your mind. Included in this definition is the idea that no matter what, you cannot change a situation. For example, nitong nakaraang bagyong Paeng. Obviously, you cannot do anything to stop Paeng. That's not possible. But if you accept the fact that it's coming, then you can act, prepare, and keep yourself safe. I believe as a teacher and a parent, nitong nakaraang bagyo, we did a lot of preparations. We secured our classrooms, lahat ng bintana, sarado, lahat ng pwedeng mabasag na gamit or mabasang gamit ay nailagay na sa ating mga plastic boxes. Sa bahay naman, bilang magulang, alam ko na naipukpok na natin lahat ng yero. 'Di ba? Ready na rin ang mga kandila at walis in case na umabot sa atin ng tubig umabot sa ating bahay ang tubig. You see, if you sit around trying to will the bagyo to stop or pretend that there is no bagyo, you're going to be in a real trouble when it comes. The same applies to mental illness. You cannot change the fact that you have a mental illness. So, anytime you spend trying to get rid of it or pretend it doesn't exist is only draining you of valuable energy. Accept yourself, accept your condition, then take the necessary steps to take care of yourself. That is radical acceptance. Next is emotion awareness. If we live in denial of our emotions, it will take far longer to take care of them. Because once we recognize what we're feeling, we can tackle it or whatever is causing it. So, if you're feeling anxious, let yourself be anxious for a couple of minutes, then meditate. If you're feeling angry, let yourself be angry. Then, listen to some calming music. Be in touch with your emotions. Accept that you are feeling a certain way. Let yourself feel that way, and then take action to diminish unhealthy feelings. And the next is opposite to emotion thinking. Opposite to emotion thinking is how it sounds. You act in the opposite way your emotions tell you to act. Say you're feeling upset and gusto mong mapag-isa. Opposite to emotions tells you to go out at makihalubilo sa ibang mga tao. Exactly the opposite of isolation. When you feel anxious, combat that with something calming, relaxing, something like meditation. When you feel manic or agitated, turn to something that stabilizes you. This technique is probably one of the hardest to put into play, but if you manage it, the results are incredible. And we also have cognitive or mental reframing. Let's say natanggal ka sa trabaho. Ikaw ay breadwinner sa family nyo. Ikaw lang at wala nang ibang inaasahan. And this sudden change is eliciting an anxious stress response. How you get by without income? You might be thinking, nagmalas mit ating nga biyagi? This is an example of catastrophic thinking. Sobrang dali lang para sa atin ang mag-isip ng mga ganitong bagay lalong-lalo na kung tayo ay nahaharap sa stressful situations. The practice of cognitive or mental reframing, however, encourages you to challenge your thoughts and help restructure a negative thought into a more positive one. Instead, you may try telling yourself, alam kong sobrang hirap ng sitwasyon ngayon at hindi nakakatuwa. But I know, malalagpasan ko rin ito at hindi lang iisa ang araw. Everything will fall into in its place soon. Reframing harmful thoughts can help us then change behavior that can lead to a better outcome. So, another mental health condition that we might be facing is grief. Grief can be the result of several life changes such as the loss of a loved one, moving from your home, sending your child away from you to give them good education, or even ang pagpapagraduate sa ating mga estudyante. According to Ruth and Exlin 2014, grief is our inherent response to a loss of some kind, and healing from loss is not linear process. As you go through the highs and lows of your grief's process, you may want to be mindful of some of these coping mechanisms. Actually, hindi lang po ito applicable sa grief, kundi sa lahat ng mental health conditions na ating maaring kaharapin. First, be with social support. Dealing with loss or other mental health conditions can feel isolating. Asking for support from loved ones is a key coping mechanism to process such conditions. Psychologists advise that having a social network during tough times help us feel more capable of processing what we are battling with. It improves our self-esteem and can reduce feelings of loneliness and persistent sadness. That is why, if you have a friend, co-teachers, co-parents, or child, or anyone around you ask you to hear them out, wag po sana natin silang i-block ng mga salitang, okay lang yan, ganyan talaga ang life, kaya mo yan. Hindi po yan nakakatulong sa mga pinagdadaanan nila. All you have to do, all you have to do is to be with them, hear them out, and assures them that they have you and they can rely on you during this gray moment of their lives. That is how social support works. And lastly, seek professional help. When we go through unique experiences of these mental health conditions, it may be helpful to seek out a licensed professional if you are if you are going through a sudden and shocking life-changing event. You may find it advantageous to ask your support system to support you during this difficult time. You can't control that you have mental illness, but you can control how you respond to your symptoms. This is not simple or easy like everything else with mental illness, but learning, practicing, and perfecting coping techniques can help you feel better emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Believe me, I've tried all the above or all that I have mentioned techniques, and they have transformed the way I cope with my mental health struggles. It is completely normal for any of us to experience stress, be it the everyday kind of stress or major life stressors. Some people may seem to go through more of this compared to others. Others may have it relatively easy. It is worth noting that everyone responds differently to stress. Each of us has our own ways of interacting with the world. Similarly, we have varying response to how the world treats us. There are times that we may feel overwhelmed by everything that is happening. Coping can be difficult, but it is possible. Counseling is one way of coping with life's many stresses. However, some people still hold a negative view of seeking advice. Some see it as unnecessary and demeaning, while others see it as a sign of weakness. You can be assured that seeking counseling is not a show of weakness. Well, it is in fact a sign of strength. Counseling and therapy can help with a lot of problems and can lead a person to become stronger than ever. And that ends my talk. I hope you have learned something from me, dear teachers. Thank you for time spent and God bless you all.